Heart failure, often called congestive heart failure, is a common, usually progressive condition with a poor prognosis. Each year in the United States, congestive heart failure affects more than 5 million individuals, that is approximately 2% of the population, necessitating more than a million hospitalizations and contributing to the death of nearly 300,000 people. CHF, that is congestive heart failure, occurs when the heart is unable to pump blood at a rate sufficient to meet the metabolic demands of the tissues, or can do so only at an elevated filling pressure. It is the common end stage of many forms of chronic heart disease. It is the common end stage of many forms of chronic heart disease, often developing insidiously from the cumulative effects of chronic work overload, for example in valve disease or hypertension, or ischemic heart disease, for example following a myocardial infarction with heart damage. However, acute hemodynamic stresses such as fluid overload, abrupt valvular dysfunction, or myocardial infarction can all precipitate sudden congestive heart failure. When cardiac overload increases, when the cardiac workload increases or cardiac function is compromised, several physiological mechanisms maintain arterial pressure and organ perfusion. They are Frank-Starling mechanism to myocardial adaptations, including hypertrophy with or without cardiac chamber dilation, and 3. Activation of neurohormonal systems to augment heart function and or regulate filling volumes and pressures. Now let's talk about the Frank-Starling mechanism, in which increased filling volumes dilate the heart and thereby increasing subsequent active myosin cross-bridge formation, enhancing contractility and stroke volume. Second one, myocardial adaptations including hypertrophy with or without cardiac chamber dilation. In many pathologic states, heart failure is preceded by cardiac hypertrophy, the compensatory response of the myocardium to increased mechanical work. The collective molecular, cellular, and structural changes that occur as a response to injury or changes in loading conditions are called ventricular remodeling. Now, third one is activation of the neurohormonal systems to augment heart function and or regulate filling volumes and pressures, include 1. Release of norepinephrine by the adrenergic cardiac nerves of the autonomic nervous system, which increases the heart rate and augments myocardial contractility and vascular resistance. And 2. Activation of the renin-angiotensin aldosterone system. And 3. Release of atrial natriuretic peptide, that is ANP. The latter two, that is renin-angiotensin aldosterone system, was and ANP, atrial natriuretic peptide. These two factors act to adjust filling volumes and pressures. These adaptive mechanisms may be adequate to maintain normal cardiac output in the face of acute perturbations. but their capacity to do so may ultimately be overwhelmed. Moreover, superimposed pathologic changes such as myocyte apoptosis, intracellular cytoskeletal alterations, and extracellular matrix deposition may cause further structural and functional disturbances. Heart failure can result from progressive deterioration or myocardial contractile function, that is systolic dysfunction, reflected as a decrease in ejection fraction, that is EF, that is the percentage of blood volume ejected from the ventricle during systole is called ejection factor. Normally is approximately 45 to 65%. Reduction in EF, that is ejection factor, can occur with ischemic injury, inadequate adaptation to pressure, or volume overload due to hypertension or valvular disease or ventricular dilation. Increasingly, heart failure is recognized as a resulting from an inability of the heart chamber to expand and fill sufficiently during diastole, that is diastole dysfunction. For example, due to left ventricular hypertrophy, myocardial fibrosis, constrictive pericarditis, or amyloid deposition. Cardiac hypertrophy, pathophysiology, and progression to heart failure. Sustained increase in mechanical work due to pressure or volume overload. For example, systemic hypertension or aortic stenosis or trophic signals. For example, those mediated through the activation of beta adrenergic receptors cause myocytes to increase in size, that is hypertrophy. Cumulatively, this increases the size and weight of the heart. Cumulatively, this increases the size and weight of the heart. You can see the figure 12.1. This is the figure 12.1 showing the left ventricular hypertrophy. In picture A, you can see pressure hypertrophy due to left ventricular outflow obstruction. The left ventricle is on the lower right in this apical four-chamber view of the heart. In picture B, showing the left ventricular hypertrophy with and without dilation. In picture B, you can see left ventricular hypertrophy with or without dilation. With dilation is on the left side and without dilation is on the right side. Viewed in transverse heart sections is compared with a normal heart which is at the center. The pressure hypertrophied hearts in the left and in A have increased mass and a thick left ventricular wall, while the hypertrophied dilated heart, which is on the right, has increased mass and normal wall thickness. In picture C, you can see the normal myocardium. In picture D, you can see the hypertrophied myocardium. In the picture D, you can see hypertrophied myocardium. The panel C and D are micrographs at the same magnification. Note the increase in both cell size and nuclear size in hypertrophied myocytes. Hypertrophy requires increased protein synthesis, thus enabling the assembly of additional sarcomeres as well as The numbers of mitochondria, hypertrophic myocytes also have enlarged nuclei attributable to increased DNA void resulting from DNA replication in the absence of cell division. The pattern of hypertrophy reflects the nature of the stimulus. The pattern of hypertrophy reflects the nature of the stimulus. In pressure overload hypertrophy, for example due to hypertension or aortic stenosis, liver sarcomeres are predominantly assembled in parallel to the long axis of the cells, expanding the cross-sectional area of myocytes in ventricles and causing a concentric increase in wall thickness. In contrast, volume overload hypertrophy is characterized by new sarcomeres being assembled in series within existing sarcomeres, leading primarily to ventricular dilation. As a result, in dilation due to volume overload or dilation that accompanies failure of a previously pressure overloaded heart, the wall thickness may be increased, normal or less than normal. Consequently, heart rate rather than wall thickness is the best measure of hypertrophy in dilated hearts. Therefore, the heart rate rather than the wall thickness is the best measure of hypertrophy in dilated hearts. Cardiac hypertrophy can be cardiac hypertrophy can be substantial in clinical heart disease. Heart rates of 2 or 3 times normal are common in patients with systemic hypertension, ischemic heart disease, aortic stenosis, mitral regurgitation, or dilated cardiomyopathy. Heart rates can be 3 to 4-fold greater than normal in those with aortic regurgitation or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Cardiac hypertrophy can be substantial in clinical heart disease. Heart rates of 2 to 3 times normal are common in patients with systemic hypertension, ischemic heart disease, aortic stenosis, mitral regurgitation, or dilated cardiomyopathy, and heart rates can be 3 to 4-fold greater than normal in those with aortic regurgitation or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Right? Important changes at the tissue and cell level occur with cardiac hypertrophy. With cardiac hypertrophy, there are important changes at the tissue and cell level occurs. Importantly, myocyte hypertrophy is not accompanied by a proportional increase in capillary numbers. As a result, the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the hypertrophied heart, particularly one undergoing pressure overload hypertrophy, is more tenuous than in the normal heart. At the same time, oxygen consumption by the hypertrophied heart is elevated due to increased workload that drives the process. Hypertrophy is also often accompanied by deposition of fibrous tissue, that is interstitial fibrosis. Molecular changes include the expression of immediate